Okay, now we have a profit model, and let's go ahead and color code the profit. That's the output with a different color. Okay, so now we want to analyze this model. What will happen to profit at different levels of demand or sales? Okay, so one approach is to do what is called a data table in Excel. So this is how data table works. So now we're going to leave one row blank. Okay, I'll tell you why in just a minute. Now go ahead and list the possible demands that you want to test and see what the profit will be, right? So let's say that we start with 50 and we want to increment the demand in 50 units until 350. So we want to try what the profit will be at all of these different demand levels. So the easiest way, instead of typing 50, 100, 150, 200 and so on, since we wanted an increment of 50 exactly, so we can do this. The previous cell plus 50. Okay, so now we can copy that formula. Okay, make a plus and drag down. So that takes us till 400. Okay, 400. That's fine. Okay, so now I'm going to format again, make sure that this label and the numbers are properly aligned. Right now, possible demand is left aligned. These numbers are right aligned. It doesn't make it for good aesthetics of the model, right? So let's go ahead and I'm going to center both of them so it's nicely formatted. Okay, so this is the list of possible demands for which you want to see what the profit will be. Okay, so now we have this blank row at the top. There you set up for each of these possible demand values, what is that you want to see? Well, what we want to see is the profit, and the profit we've already modeled, and that comes from cell C20. So enter that address there as a formula. Okay, so now we have the output is here and the possible inputs are here. Okay, actually data table will work for more than one output. So with profit, so you want to also look at total cost. Then you just have another column with that cell as the output. But we don't want that, so let's do that. Okay, so now we need to populate the profit for each of these demands. Okay, you don't have to type in 50, type in 100, look at what the profit is and then copy paste it here. That's not what we're interested in. Okay, we want to be able to do this automatically. And so, even if later when you go and change these numbers, you don't have to copy paste fresh. So the formulas here will be automatically updated. So what we need to do is to do the data table, you have to first highlight the data table areas and see how I have highlighted. So it starts from that blank cell in the corner. Okay, that is your first row, the row that contains all the output formulas. In our case, there is only one, which is the profit. And then you expand the highlight the selected area to include all the input values and the column of the output. So once you have highlighted the range in this fashion, so you go to data and under what if analysis we have data table. Okay, so now data table can be done with just one input or two inputs. So if you have two inputs, you will have a column input like that and a row input at the top. Okay, right now we will look at an example of that kind later. Right now we have only one input, which is the possible demand, and that possible demand is arranged in a column. So that's how you can tell whether it is a row input cell or a column input cell. The inputs are in a column, so what we have here is a column input cell. Okay, and we have to identify in which cell these column numbers should go. So here we want, these are possible demands. In other words, these are the number of units that we will be able to sell. And in our model, that data is set up here in cell C15. So click in C15 and you'll see the address automatically entered here. Okay, so now we have identified where these possible demand values must be inserted, for which the profit will be displayed here in this column. So when I click OK, so it's going to set up, going to insert what is called a table formula, and this is what is called an array formula. So which means array formulas cannot be altered individually. So you have, you entered as an array, then the entire array needs to be changed if you need to change any part of it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and format this again like that. All right, so we have, let's put a border down below there, and we can plot these estimated profits to make a graph out of it. So here, these are the profits that we want to plot. Okay, let's highlight that, insert, so like that. Okay, now we do want to include the demand. So right now we only have the profit. So go select data, so edit the series. So if you series name is profit, right? X values are these. Okay. So now we have the X values and the profit is here. Now I selected a scatter plot, but a line plot will also work here. And let's go ahead and add some titles. Okay, so the profit here is for, okay, I'm going to copy paste this in the title. All right. Now that x-axis title is demand or sales. Now this one is profit. Let's go ahead and get rid of the decimal places here. Right click, format. Okay. So here, number. Okay, decimal places. Okay, get rid of that, because it's that decimal place is not adding any value for us. So now let's look at the graph, and then we can see where this line intersects a profit of 0, and that will be our break-even point. Okay. Now data table allows you, now suppose if you go and change this, so instead of 50 you want to start at 100, okay, then all you have to do is to change that number, everything gets updated, and the data table also will get updated, and you have a different graph here.